Wherever you are and however you're listening, this is such a critically important episode for you. If you're in the car with friends, turn it up because everyone needs to hear it. This episode is about your finances, and whether you're in hospitality or you're an entrepreneur or you're just got your own money, this is an episode you're not going to want to miss. We talk about the importance of being involved in your finances and how to make the most of your money. It's not one you're going to want to miss. Be sure to like and subscribe, and most importantly, enjoy the episode.
Do you want me to say what we're talking?
Girl, I don't care. Just rip it. Just be giggly and be you. Be fun.
Gosh.
Be light and bright.
Okay, we're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to another episode of Virtual GM Podcasts. Today, Season 2, Episode 19. October already?
Can't believe it.
What is happening?
Can't believe it. Get your pumpkin.
Today's going to be a good
spice
episode.
Latte.
Yeah. Ooh.
PSL.
I'm going to get a pumpkin spice. Today, you've got Meagan and Cody, your host, which is awesome. We're going to talk about finances. But first, we're going to start off with our segues. So Cody's going to kick it off.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's October, so that's awesome.
That is exciting.
You know, we're in it. We're in fourth quarter. It's here. If you missed the last episode, we talk about all the fourth quarter promotions that you need. If you missed it, go back and listen to it. But today we're going to get into another equally as important topic about finance. And so my segue for Business Best is we got all of our clients' end of month finances done. It's amazing how fast that happens.
I feel like the first of the month comes so quickly.
It's like we're always doing it.
I know.
You know?
I'm like, wait, I just paid the mortgage like a week ago.
And so when we talk about end of month finances, what that means for us is for the properties we run their finances for, we create a budget sheet. And in that budget sheet is all of your expenses. We project what it's going to cost and what the actuality is and what we bought and do we have the receipt or not? And what were the days of it? And so we go through and reconcile that with your bank statement. So we make sure your starting balance and your ending balance match and all the charges are right. So that way, as we look historically, it's important for a couple reasons. One, of course, you want accurate reporting, but also we want to, because I oftentimes will look back at like, well, what did we do in August of 2022 or in 2023? And so you want to make sure those numbers are accurately reflected. And then after that, we go through your QuickBooks and we make sure your P&L is all updated and your P&Ls also accurately reflect what just transpired. And so then we'll send out to our clients their P&L. So like for this one that we just did, we sent them their P&L for August. We sent them their P&L for January through August. We sent them their balance sheet and we sent them their reconciled budget for August and then their budget for September. And so they really have an absolute 100% visual understanding of the financial health of their business to an absolute T. And we had those done by like, what, the 3rd of September?
Yeah, and this year was kind of different, right? Because it was, or not this year, this month, Labor Day.
Yeah.
So the banks were closed on Monday, but statements were still out, you know.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And so just think about that for your business, because so many people who I run into who don't have a system in place, their accountants are calling them in April of next year saying, what did you buy in August? And no one remembers, you know? So it's like, and we'll get into it. I won't get ahead of ourselves. But then my personal best, we had an awesome Labor Day weekend. It was so great. We went up to Bryan Head, went to Megan's family's cabin. I hadn't been there in a couple of years. It was awesome. The weather was beautiful. It was just such a fun time. We got to do a fire, which I love. We brought the dogs up and just, it was really an amazing experience. And then we also had a pool day, which was super fun. The weather was perfect. Hung out with the kids and my dad all day in the pool. And I also got a round of golf in, got a little bit of pickleball. It was like, got the whole thing. So it was a great
weekend.
Great weekend. What about you? What's your segue?
Mine's the same, minus the golf and pickleball, but mine exactly the same. End of month finances, it always feels good to have that done and have it balanced. And then Bryan Head was mine, you know, and having the long weekend with the kids, it was nice. And
yeah. And we took them out of school early on Friday to go to Bryan Head. So we had like 4-day weekend.
Yeah, they didn't go to school, remember?
That's right.
They got to pay some money to miss school.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was nice, you know? I feel like you need those little breaks. That even though school just started a few weeks ago, it felt nice to just, you know, have that. And it feels like fall, even though it's still really hot here.
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
Yeah, it was awesome.
There's something about reconciling the finances that feels so good.
Oh, it does feel
I don't
so
know
good.
what it is. It's like highlighting the
I
numbers.
love highlighting.
It's just like
stapling it.
Yeah, I think it's because one of those things that's like definitively a task that's done.
Yes.
Because so many things in hospitality are never
Done.
I mean,
It's like ongoing.
every day is another day. So it's like, even if you just had a great experience,
Yeah.
it's like, well, that's awesome. There's another guest checking in today, so you never get like that sense of like, oh,
Finality.
it's done, And so obviously we got into detail. Today will be a shorter episode because people don't love to listen to finance stuff.
But
for
it's
super
so
long.
important.
So I heard this great quote or conversation about money that made so much sense. So, it was Cody Sanchez. You remember Cody Sanchez?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I like her.
yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing businesswoman. And so, she was on a podcast talking about the best advice she ever got from a mentor. And she said she was with her mentor and he said, "How much money do you have?" And she was like, "Oh, that's a weird question." She's like, "I don't know. How much money is in my bank?" He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, I don't know, like 100,000 or something." And he's like, No. How much exactly?" And she was like, well, I don't know. I don't know how much. I'd have to look it up. And he's like, "How much money do you make a month?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't know." And he was like, you need to know those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. He said, money is like a woman or partner. and I can't remember if he said woman or partner, but her mentor said, if you pay attention to it and you're involved with it and you give it all the attention it needs, it will grow and it'll improve. But if you ignore it, it'll leave you.
Interesting.
And I was like, damn, that is so true. Because part of why finances are so important is just the universal truth that whatever you pay attention to improves.
Interesting.
And so when you think about, like, I thought about even our personal lives, and it's like,
I was just thinking about that, how
Yes.
you weren't involved in it last year, and I was
It was
not doing a
rough.
good job.
it was not good.
It was not good, but we needed both of us.
Yeah. And it's just just universally true. Anything you track is going to be better. Like
Yeah.
if you're trying to lose weight
Fitness.
and you keep track of it, you'll do
Meals.
better. Whatever it is. And I just thought, like, wow, because there is an energy to finances and to money, right?
Yeah.
And so energetically, if like we are constantly every day looking at it and we're aware and we have a plan, and I was thinking about the budgets and how we're putting out in the universe, like, here's what our expenses are going to be and here's what our income is going to be. It's so much more likely for it to happen.
Yeah.
And we're just so in tune with what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't just for our clients. This is for you and I just as individuals, right? You spoke about, so we've always had a budget for our family for
Many years.
as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And you took over that responsibility, and I kind of just let you have it.
But then you'd freak out. You'd look at the bank account. I'm like, bro, if you would just look at the budget sheet, you would know.
I was a little bit frustrated.
A lot frustrated.
And then, we used a credit card, and it's like
But look, we're all good. It's
somehow
all
the credit
good.
card always had a $5,000 balance on it.
It's crazy how it just seems like it adds up differently on a
Yeah.
credit
I
card.
remember-
It doesn't make sense.
In fact, we had just finally, I don't like credit cards. And so
well,
we had,
that's not true. You do. They serve a purpose.
yes,
you should
I
have
love them for
credit
the benefits.
cards.
There's so many great things you should use, but I don't like them for tracking finances because I feel like it just gets away from you. So we've never used credit cards for our business, but we finally got the American Express Delta Reserve card because we're trying to go to Europe for our 15-year anniversary in 2026. And Lord knows we need some help with flights.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get those points. So we finally do it. We're doing our first reconciliation for Vibrant, and it's got the our American Express charges and our bank charges all mixed together, and it doesn't balance.
Ugh.
And I'm looking at the credit card and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
You like make an Excel sheet. You're like running all the numbers, and you're like, wait, it does.
That's what
It does balance. That's so strange.
I didn't believe that what was like, it said that we had still had to pay could be true.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't believe this. So I pulled up a spreadsheet and I put all of our charges in and all the payments. And I was like, damn,
It balances.
it's right. It's just, it messes with your mind. And so if you're using a credit card, it's even more important to be like diligently in your finances. But I just love that conversation that Cody had because I thought, like, wow, that is so important. And there's so many business owners out there. And I hope if you're listening, this isn't you who aren't actively paying attention.
And
or
you just don't
focused
even
on
know
it.
what's coming in, what's going out, what you're spending your money on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love to have the conversations. I used to be a financial advisor, and I'm so passionate about finances because my mom and dad, bless their heart, didn't know shit about money. And so they never paid attention. My mom didn't even know how to look up the bank account.
Well, your mom didn't even start using a debit card Like your dad would just give her
To like
cash
2025 or something.
No, 2024.
Oh, sorry, 2005.
Yeah, but I remember
We were at Olive Garden.
She didn't know how to use it.
Yeah,
It was
we were
like,
at Olive Garden. She didn't know what she was doing. And then I think she still wrote it in her check register.
Probably.
You know?
Yeah.
Some people listening to this probably don't even know what a check register is.
I bet they do.
But shoot, what tangent was I on? You just took me off of it.
Where were you going with that?
Cody Sanchez talked. Oh, paying attention. If you're a business owner, like when people have the conversation, I'll say, "How much do you think you spend eating out a month?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't know, $200." It's like that's how much you spend on a dinner.
Yeah.
Like you just don't know. Or what's your grocery budget? They just don't know. You ask a hotel, "What are you spending on supplies?" I don't know. You know. And so I was going over a P&L with a potential investor. And we're looking at the expenses, and he was like, "This repairs and maintenance must not be right. Like, you guys must be putting a bunch of stuff on the balance sheet." I was like, "No, that's what it is." He's like, "But how is it so low?" And I said, "Well, think about the difference in mentality you create. Because for any of our properties, Megan and I as vibrant and as individuals, but also our properties, if Saul at the dwellings goes to Ace Hardware, he knows he's got to send us a picture of the receipt. Now, Saul, I don't think naturally anyways would go and take advantage of the company card or buy things. Yeah. And so, but there is a difference of accountability when you know I've got to send this receipt in. So I tell the story of the Cliff Rose because the Cliff Rose is really where we built this system. Like it was built for the Cliff Rose originally, which is this amazing hotel right outside the entrance of Zion National Park. It's where I got my start in hospitality. And it'd been in the Dockstader family for 30 years, and no one had ever treated their finances had exactly how we're talking now, because there just was always an inflow of money. So like it was always okay.
When you make a bunch of money, you're like,
it doesn't matter as much because you're never like, don't have enough,
Until you don't.
But if you pay attention, you could always have more.
Yeah.
And so the story that I like to tell is that before that accountability, let's say that they had to dig a hole and to do something on the ground. So they didn't know where the shovel was. You know what they would do?
They'd go buy a new one.
Why not? It's just easier. But now, once we started this system, it was like, shit, if I go buy another shovel, Cody's going to ask me, we have 5 shovels. Why'd you buy another shovel? Right? Because they have to send in the receipt. But if no one was paying attention and you go to Soul Foods and spend $15.99 on a shovel, you'll never know. Yeah. In fact, I remember the very first day we were going through the finances at the Cliff Rose, and I'm going through and I don't know what anything is, right? So I asked Breck and Stephanie, say, what's this $100 for? You guys get charged every month. And it was some software they'd bought for a restaurant that'd been closed for a year.
And they've just spent
$1,200
unknowingly.
Without even realizing, right? And that's why you see all those apps that are like, show you, you have 2 Hulu subscriptions, or you're paying for 3 Netflix, all these things that people don't know. And business is the exact same way. It's just infinitely more important.
Yeah.
And so when you create that culture of understanding, and also when you do have a budget,
well,
right?
And I love your budget sheet. Like people can't see it, right? I wish we could show it, because the way it is, so you could look in QuickBooks, right? But the way your budget sheet is set up, it's like you can go to the tab and see everything you spent that month.
Yeah.
And it just makes it so easy.
And the front page is showing you how it all comes together.
Right. The operating budget. But then it breaks it down, and then you can see, like you said, if you have the receipt, what exactly it is.
Who bought it?
When was it? Yeah. Who bought it? How, you know what I mean? So your budget sheet, I feel like, is a real game changer.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is that you may not want to give everyone on your team access to your QuickBooks or to your P&Ls or to all the intricate finances, but you can share a Google Doc with somebody so that they can see it, so your team members are aware and they know, oh, this is what my budget is, because you want to give, if you are running a property that's not virtual, and let's say you've got staff and managers and things, you want to give them the authority to be able to make educated decisions. And so if we've got, so like the Cliff Dwellers, for example, is a big full operation, restaurant, huge, gift shop, gas station, hotel, water sports, like it's a whole lot of stuff. And so that team knows, like, oh, here's my food and beverage budget. Here's my supplies budget. Here's my boat supplies budget. And so they don't need to ask for permission to use the company funds as long as they stay within the budget. And then we know, like, what do we anticipate coming in this month in income? What are our outputs? And where do we have to make changes? What does payroll have to be in order for us to make it? So we just made our, it'll be our first off season with the Cliff Dwellers.
It starts now?
Well, we're going into it. Like, it'll just, we haven't done it yet, right?
Yeah.
But September and October will be great. But then, they're going to lose. They lose heavily in November, December, January, February, because
It's freezing out.
you can't go out on the on the river, right? And so you've got to really strategically prepare for what does that look like, and what do we need? What do we need in our winter reserves? And so I went this week and I made a budget that projected from September through March.
Oh, wow.
So that way we really know like what are we going to have in reserves to cover and make sure we can get through this time. And so many people just go into it blindly and would just roll into November and be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're just looking at their bank account. And the problem with the bank account is it doesn't show checks that are out. For certain properties, I'll write a check for $26,000. So if you're looking at your bank account and it shows $26,000, you're like, oh, we're good.
Yeah.
And then that check hits tomorrow and you have zero.
Right.
And so part of the budget sheet, which is so great, is you put that check in when you write it.
And you're planning.
And it shows you your accurate account balance. So you would look at that and see, oh, I don't have $26,000. I have $0.
Yeah.
And then if you're listening to this, here's how I would set up your business. And have your main business bank account. And this isn't just for hospitality. This is really for anyone. Separate your money out. Have your buckets. There's a great book by T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and he really talks about these buckets of money. It's an incredible book. I highly recommend it. But so you're going to have your main operating business account. And then I would have, if you're a hospitality business, a sales tax checking account. And here's the reason why I love that. Because depending on how much revenue you do, you're either going to pay your sales tax monthly or quarterly. When you're paying quarterly and it's
a big lump sum of money.
$18,000, $20,000, $25,000, if you're not prepared for that, that is a massive blow. And you would have been making that as income for those 3 months and you think like, oh, we're doing great. And then boom, you just get wiped out. And even like for the Cliff Rose back in the day, this was 10 years ago, they were paying monthly. Their sales tax bills would be $50,000. And so if you weren't prepared for that, that's a devastating blow. And so what I like to do is you've got your main business account and then you've got a sales tax account. And every week I transfer out the sales tax into the sales tax account. That way, when you're looking at your operating bank account, this is true. Like this is our money. So you've got your sales tax account and then I would have a sinking fund account. Typically in hospitality, you should be changing your FF&E every 5 to 7 years. Some things are 5, some things are 7. So like if you've got
furniture, fixtures.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And if you're in like a flagged property, they mandate you have to do that. But for all of us little boutiques out there that are trying to stretch it, you can, but it is going to be inevitable. A bed's going to need to be replaced. TVs are going to need to be replaced. Carpet needs to be replaced. You're definitively going to have these expenses. And so I like to take 10% of all of our income. Same thing every week, you move it into a sinking fund. And that money is there to replace the things that you need. And then that way, when your water heater goes out and it's $10,000, it doesn't feel like it's devastating because it's using money that you don't even think of as your own.
Right.
Right.
You planned to use that for something.
In your mind, you've already spent it. We just don't know what it's on yet. So that's 3 accounts so far. Your main business checking account, your sales tax account, and your sinking fund account. And then the 4th account that I would have is
savings account,
your reserve account. How much money do you need to operate your business? And I'm a little bit more conservative than most. So I like to have a little bit of a longer runway. But what I would say is the minimum is in your business operating account. You should know what your monthly expenses, let's just say it's $50,000. So $50,000 should basically be your zero line. You never really want to go below that. So that way, you've always got 1 month of operating in your account. And so if depending on how you want to structure it, at the end of every month, if whatever you had above 50, you could move over to that reserve account. And then in the reserve, I'm going to want at least 3 months of our expenses. So if it costs $50,000 to operate your business, you're going to want $150,000 over in your reserve account, $50,000 in your checking. And basically that means you have 4 months of your expenses at any time. And the beauty of that is we became entrepreneurs and business owners to make money. That's all. We love what we do, but we're here to make money. And so now everything above that 50,000, once you've got your 50 in your checking, you've got your sales tax money, you've got your sinking fund money, and you've got your reserve money. Now, anything above that threshold, you get to keep, and it's not affecting your business. You don't have to have any sense of like, oh, can I really take this distribution this month? You just definitively know. And if you do those things, I think so much of stress for entrepreneurs comes from not planning appropriately. And then there's things that you should have known were happening, but you didn't have the money. And then it doesn't allow you to operate in the capacity that you want to. So I can talk about our e-bike business. We're owners in Greater Zion e-bikes. And now we've got all those things in place, and we're putting away 10% of all of our money for sinking funds. So I no longer am worried about like, God, how are we going to replace our inventory in 3 years? Because on e-bikes, you got to replace them every 3 to 5 years. And for one location, it's like $100,000 in bikes. And before we had that, it was a little bit like, oh, that's stressful.
Yeah.
How are we going to do that? But now I know it's taken care of. So I get to enjoy the business more because I know all of those things are in place. And so that's what I would do to set that up. I'm happy to share the budget sheets with you. And if you're listening to this and you're like, gosh, I really need some help and guidance, we'd love to help and support you. Reach out to us. But if you take anything away from this episode, treat your money like your lover. Give it all the attention you can. And if you do that, you're going to be better off.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to add to that? I mean, you've been in the finances now for a year. Anything you feel like we didn't touch on that we should?
Well, I had thought about like Vibrant Marketing, like before,
God,
how
yeah.
it was run and how many charges were coming through. I hated doing that company. Let's just be real, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody sent in receipts. So it's frustrating. I didn't know what some of the charges were, but we've since shifted who's working at Vibrant Marketing. And now they maybe have like, I don't know, 3 extra expenses a month. And that is it.
Yeah. Our old dues and subscriptions, professional fees was probably $2,000-ish a month. And now it's like $300.
Yeah.
And so you can run a business more efficiently, I think is kind of what you're talking about.
Well, I think some people think like, oh, I just need all this stuff to run it. But really you don't, right? And now the profit for that company is far greater and less stressful because you're not spending all this money on all these different tools.
Yeah.
Like you really just don't need as much as people think you do.
Well, and I think some entrepreneurs think like, oh, great, I'm an entrepreneur now. Like, this is awesome. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to spend all this money. And like, I'm going to take my team out. And it's like all of those things have their place, but it's got to fit in the ecosystem of what you're doing. So, and the other part about money is you have to also enjoy it.
Yeah.
So you've got to spend it. And so I'm not saying don't ever do anything fun with your money. Do things fun with your money, but do them once those other parameters are in place. If you have your sales tax money put away, you've got your sinking fund and you got your winter reserve and you want to take your team out for a team event, absolutely. Yeah. Enjoy your money and also put yourself in a place where you can get distributions so the business is doing what you created it for. So many owners, business owners, hospitality or otherwise, become slaves to their own business that they started.
Right. And what's the point?
What do you even do? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, if your business is running you and you're not running your business, you've made a grave mistake.
Yeah.
But you can fix it. 100%. You can fix it. So if you're listening to this, regardless of industry, just know you are ultimately in control. And if you take control of your finances, everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, I love it.
Ended up being a better episode than I thought.
Well, I think it's so important. And I think a lot of people don't talk about it. And I think maybe that's like a generational thing, right? It's like, oh, you just keep your money.
Yeah.
You don't talk about it and you just, you know what I mean? But it's good to have these healthy conversations. And I think people should really start having these conversations and being really honest, you know?
I was going to say, as entrepreneurs, the money is kind of like your badge of success. And so if it's not working the way you want to, I think people are afraid to talk about it because they don't want to feel lesser than of like, oh, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do.
That's so silly. Like, stop worrying about 100%. That and just ask for help. You know what I mean? Like, you can get your business into a place where it is better and it's not so stressful, right? Because we shouldn't be stressed, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Vibrant Marketing is such a great, even Vibrant for us. I mean, we have shifted.
Oh, completely shifted.
We have more clients now than we did a year ago, and we're spending 30% less than we did. Right. Because we're being more strategic. And Vibrant Marketing is another great example where we were really forced into a pivot. And now, to your point, we've been able to create profitability with less customers, but less expenses, you know? And so there's so many different ways you can be strategic about your finances. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you need to be in your finances every single day.
Well, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Monday through Friday. Come on. Take a weekend.
Not 7 days a week. Come on now.
But you know what I'm saying? You need to be paying attention.
Yeah, you got to pay attention.
It's your best friend.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, that is it. I hope that was impactful for you. I could have talked about finances for 60 more minutes. If you want to have that dialogue, if you're running your business, if you've got a hospitality business and you're like, we just never have enough money at the end of the month, reach out to us. Let us do some due diligence. Let's get into your finances and let's figure out a roadmap for how you can get back into the black. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode was impactful for you. If you want to start a dialogue on finances, just shoot me an email, Cody@thevibrantteam.com. And most importantly, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode.